I used to spend the night in hotel parking lots. What was I going to do? I ain't had nowhere to stay, so I lived in the car. I had $35. And I said, come on, God, man, I've been trying to make this dream come true. You done left me out here like this. And I was crying so hard that he just said, I didn't like hear a voice or nothing, but he spoke to me in Harvey. He said, if you get up, I'm going to take you places you ain't never been. Now I was finna quit. So I said, skip it. I'm going to quit anyway. So I got in my car. I went to a payphone and I was going to call my dad. You remember back in the day where you could punch in a code and call your answering machine and get your messages? So I called and I punched in the code and it said, doop. He said, hey, Steve, this is Chuck Sutton with Showtime at the Apollo. We saw a tape of you. You're very funny. If you could get here Sunday night, we'd love to put you on television. Call me back. Let me know if you can make it. So I hung the phone up. I'm crushed because my whole dream of being on TV, and I couldn't get to New York. I got $35. How am I going to get to New York? I can't make it. So I'm standing there at the phone booth and tears just coming down my face. I said, God, so that must be a sign for me to go home. Because this it. I ain't even got the money to go to the Apollo. My whole thing that wanted to be on TV, I couldn't even make the dream come true. This is the most messed up moment. And so I said, man, let me call this dude back and see if he said this Sunday. Because maybe he said next Sunday and I can hustle up a little bit of money or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but let me just call him back. So I called him back. Steve, this is Chuck Sutton, Showtime at the Apollo. We saw a tape of yours. You're very, very funny. Look, we have an opening Sunday night at Showtime at the Apollo. If you can make it, we'd love to put you on TV. I said, it's this Sunday. Before I hit the button, I heard, doop, you have another message. Now, it wasn't there before. So I punched my code in. I listened to the second message. It said, Steve Harvey, this is Tom Silver from the Comedy Caravan. This was a Thursday. He said, I have a gig in Jacksonville, Florida on Friday night that pays $150. If you can get there Friday night, you'll make $150. So I called him back and I said, hey, Tom, did you get a gig away? He said, no, it's still available. He said, can you get there? I said, I'm in Pensacola, Florida. I'm 3.5 hours away. So I drive to Jacksonville, Florida, and that night I made the 150. The club owner said, man, you funnier than the guy we hired. If you stay tomorrow night, I'm going to give you another $150. So now I got $300 now. So I get on the phone. I call Chuck Sutton. I say, hey, man, is the gig still available at Showtime at the Apollo? He said, well, we got one opening left. I said, I'll be there. So I called Eastern Airlines, who used to be open back then. They had a special for $99 going from Jacksonville, Florida to New York round trip. So I parked my car at the airport. I got it. So I walk out. I had wrote this joke. Mike Tyson had got in a fight in Harlem with this heavyweight named Mitch Green. Mike Tyson had hit the dude in the eye in the store. Now, he was on the news. His eye was swollen. So the joke I wrote was, they was interviewing Mitch Green, and he was telling everybody what happened, but his eye took over the interview. And I wrote this joke that his eye started talking and was just, I'll tell you what happened.
The heavyweight champ's fist is coming towards my face. I just said, Lord, Lord, Lord.
And I wrote this whole joke about this dude's eyeball talking. And when the punch came, and all this here, the Apollo, man, they went crazy. They lost their mind. I got a standing ovation, man. I walked off stage, man, just started crying. I couldn't believe it. They paid me. I made $750 for being on TV for one night. I'd never made $750 telling jokes in one night. And so that was my first television appearance. A couple weeks later, Sinbad was the host of the show. He got this job on Different World. And so he quit. And so Mark Curry became the host. And then Mark Curry got hanging with Mr. Cooper, and he quit. And they came to me and said, would you come back to New York and host amateur night for us to just try you out? Oh, ain't no problem. And so I went to New York. I hosted amateur night, and I was killing. But every time we went to commercial break, I was supposed to let the warm-up act take over like Ruben does. But I knew not to let the warm-up act do that because he would change the attitude of the crowd, because Apollo was a wild place. So I stayed out there. I did the warm-up and the hosting. And I created a bond with that audience. And that's how I got on TV. It was my very first TV show. I hosted Showtime at Apollo. I ended up being the longest running host in the history of Showtime. I did that show for 8 years.
When I first started doing these shows, you know, the first play I did was in a little theater like this, and there were 30 people that showed up, and I lost everything I had, car payment and so on. But out of the 30, there was someone there that wanted to invest. That's God keeping the dream alive.
Wow.
So we tried to do the show again that next year. It failed. But there was somebody else who wanted to invest. So 7 years of that, of struggling, homeless, and I would get a job in between. I'd go to work, and I'd work, and I'd say, okay. Then I get a call from a promoter saying, we got an opportunity to do a show over here in South Carolina. You want to do it? I go to my boss and say, listen, I'm going to need some time off to go rehearse. They said, you want 2 weeks off and you only been working here 2 weeks? So I go to my desk and I pray. I said, okay, God, am I supposed to do this? And I'd hear this voice as clear as day say, quit. I'm not telling y'all to go quit your job. I'm saying this is my testimony. So I would go out and do the show, load the truck, put the lights up, bring the set, put it up. And I remember driving to South Carolina once, and I was so excited about this show, and here on the radio, there's a hurricane headed towards Spartanburg, South Carolina, the weekend of the play.
Wow.
And I was so angry because I would get out there and do the show. God told me to quit, but then I come out here and I don't hear from you. I would be back there in the dressing room, can't pay anybody. I'd be so frustrated. I'd be praying. I'd be angry. Like, God, what's going on? Where are you? You told me to do this. Don't you control the wind and the rain? What's going on with this hurricane coming in? So in the 8th year, the 7th year, going into the 8th year, I'd gotten really tired. I wasn't going to do it anymore. I'd given up. I was going to do like my mother said, go get me a job, work at the phone company. I was going to be all right. That was going to be my life. I had settled with that. Then I get a call from somebody saying, we got one more opportunity. The Dream Believing.
Wow.
And the place they wanted to do it was the House of Blues. And I walked in and I said, they have desecrated, this was a church. I am not performing up in here, and I will not. And like, next day I go back in, all of the folk art that they had on the wall was gone. Oh, House of Blues pulled out yesterday. Now it's just the tabernacle.
Oh, come on.
So I sat there, I'm getting chills. I sat there in that night doing the show, and the heat goes out in the building. And it's March 12th, the coldest night in Atlanta that had been in a long time. And I'm thinking, God, you always bring me out here. I always have to quit this job. Now I'm going to be homeless again. And I'm complaining and murmuring. I hear the voice of God say, shut up. You don't tell me when it's over. I tell you when it's over. As clear as day. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and he said, get up and look out the window. And I walked over to the window, and I had tears rolling down my face. There was a line around the corner to get in the place.
Come on now.
And from that moment, and this was after I forgave my father, because all through those 7 years, I hadn't forgiven him. I had been holding on to it. So from that moment on to now, I have been living in this place of watching these amazing, miraculous moments happen and watching God do things that have just blown my mind.
For this part, real actresses. And he tells me who just left his office. And I went, well, okay, I'm not getting that part. So I hang up the phone and I start crying. I can't believe that God has played this trick on me. I think this is a trick. So I decide that this is because the fat has finally caught up with me. The fat has finally caught up with me, and now I must get rid of the fat in 2 weeks. I am going to go to a fat farm, and I'm going to lose 25 pounds. I'm going to drink a lot of green juice. I'm going to have some cleanses and colonics. So I also was trying to make peace with it. I said, God, I don't understand. I thought it was for me. You ever had that talk with God? I thought it was for me. I thought it was for me. God, you let me audition with somebody named Harpo. That's my name backwards. Jesus, that was a sign. Wasn't it a sign? And then 3 months pass, and then Reuben Cannon says, real actresses have just left his office. So I start to pray on the track. I'm out on the track at the Fat Farm, and I am running around at the track at the Fat Farm. It starts to rain. Y'all know how that is. But I don't even care, because I am praying to God to help me to let it go. Help me let it go, because now I've become obsessed with it and it's now controlling my life. I start praying, running around the track. And I keep hearing this noise, and I can't, there's nobody on the track but me, and I'm running around the track. And I look around, and it is my thighs rubbing together. It's my thighs. My thighs are rubbing together, causing this thunderous sound. There's nobody on the track. So then I really start to cry. Oh, Lord, help me. Help me let it go. Help me let it go. Help me let it go, God. Help me let it go. And you ever did this prayer where you say, okay, Lord, okay, I'm going to let it go. Then you get up and you go, well, I think I still got a little bit of it. I did. Help me let it go. But I am not going to be able to see the other actress in my part. I won't be able to see it. I won't be able to see Color Purple. Just can't never see it the rest of my life. I won't be able to see it. So then I started, I don't know where it came from. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. I sang and I cried. I sang and I cried and I prayed some more until I could reach the point where not only will I be able to go to the movie, but I can bless the other actress. I can bless her. I can say, I bless you. I bless you. I bless you with this. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. And I tell you, in my greatest testimony, that the instant I laid that thing down, I'm telling you, when I laid it down and it didn't have me anymore, it had no control over me anymore. I didn't feel anything about it anymore. When I let it go, when I intentionally surrendered it to the power that was greater than I could ever know. The instant that happened, a woman comes running out of the cafeteria screaming, Ofrey? Is your name Ofrey? For 10 years, nobody could pronounce my name. I said, yes. She said, somebody's on the telephone for you. He said his name's Spielberg. I get to the phone. He says, I hear you're at a fat farm. I said, no, sir. This is a health retreat. He says, I'd like to see you in my office in California tomorrow. This was in Wisconsin. I'd like to see you in my office. And if you lose a pound, you could lose this part. No problem do I have. I'll have no problem not losing a pound. So, honey, I packed my bags and I stopped at the Dairy Queen. I got 3 scoops just in case I'd lost a half a pound. And the next day, I was in Steven Spielberg's office, and he said, "You're hired. You're hired."
You told Harpo to beat me. All my life, I had to fight. I had to fight my daddy. I had to fight my uncles. I had to fight my brothers. Girl child ain't safe in the family men's. But I ain't never thought I had to fight in my own house. I loves Harpo. God knows I do. But I kill him dead before I let him beat me. Woo! You want a dead son-in-law, Miss Seeley? You keep on advising him like you do.
This life be over soon. Heaven lasts always.
Girl, you ought to bash Mrs. Head open and think about heaven later.
The Color Purple was a life-changing event for me because it taught me that you can dream the dream and that God can have a bigger dream. But most importantly, it taught me the power of surrender. It taught me when you've done everything you can do, you don't just have to stand. When you've prayed and cried and stood and tried some more and sacrificed and wanted and dreamed and held on and believed and got turned down and turned back and turned around. It taught me that when you've done everything you can do, surrender all.